Hello everyone, this is Moncef Afkir, and thank you so much for joining us today in this new call of Your Divine Uniqueness. And I can't wait to share with you our very special guest today. Her name is Anja Schäfer, and for those of you who are not yet familiar with Anja, just let me give you a brief introduction. So Anja Schäfer has been supporting Omnec Onec mission since 1997. As her close friend and personal assistant, Anja helps Omnec to share her message of unconditional love and brotherhood among the people on Earth. Besides her mission to support Omnec, Anja is working on the manifestation of a project for the transmission of the Earth called Omnec Oasis. Being self-employed in the service sector, she is also running her own business as a publishing service, Discus Publishing Services, and works on the establishment of her own publishing company, Discus Publishing. Anja lives in southern Germany, close to Lake Constance. And if you don't know yet who is Omnec, so Omnec Onec was born on a higher level of density on the planet Venus, called the astral plane, and came to Earth with her own physical body in 1955. In the 90s, Omnec became publicly known with her autobiography, From Venus I Came, which is today part 1 of the Venusian trilogy. It is Omnec's mission to share her spiritual knowledge and unconditional love with the people on Earth and to help raising the human consciousness. So with that, Anja, I want to welcome you to the show. Thank you so much for joining us today.
I thank you very much. I'm very glad that I may be here and talk to you.
Wonderful. And I'm really excited about today's call. It's something we are not used to talk about, and yeah, it's very exciting. So, but before I start our discussion, I would love if you tell us about yourself and your journey before you met Omnec Onec.
Oh my God, this would be a long journey, of course, as you can imagine. I tried to cut it as short as possible. I think it is a general thing that usually many people start looking for answers, for life answers to life questions when they are not very happy, when they have some kind of whatever problems. In my case, it started pretty early, I think at the age of maybe 15, 16, when I was just insecure about what to do with my life. You know, I didn't have a clear vision where I want to go, and I was not very lucky with the other gender already at that time. So I made experiences that were not so pleasant all the time, one after the other. And so part of me started to search for answers and wanted to become more wise, and wanted to get an overview over why does this happen, why is this so, what can I do to be happy in this life, what am I going to do with myself. And this was, I think at that time, this quest for esoteric information and basically also tarot and astrological information started in my case. Actually, Omnec came much later. She came in my life when I was maybe 24. And at that time, I was still living in Berlin, which is my home city. And I still was on the quest. I didn't know what I should do concerning work and everything. I was just not so happy. Everything was pretty okay, you know, the life was okay, but I wanted more. And then all of a sudden one day I turned the TV on, and by accident, because I was never a TV junkie, I saw Omnec Onec sitting there in a German TV interview. and it caught my attention very, very intensely, because she impressed me so much with her, the way she looked, the way she talked, the calmness, especially the aura, the calmness that she radiated. It was something that I have never seen, never before. She was so clear and so calm and so authentic that I was just hypnotized almost. I just had to sit there and listen to this person. And I only remember that she said the key word, the key phrase that is still, that has become one of the most important phrases or sentences for me personally, which is imagination is the key to creation. This was one sentence that was somehow seated in my mind, and of course the name Omnec Onec I remembered, and the name of the book, From Venus I Came, that was just released at that time, and this was the beginning.
Yeah, beautiful. And we will also talk about your work with her and with the Oasis. But I would love if we start talking about her journey. And
yes.
As I said in the introduction, that she was born on a higher level of density on planet Venus. And so could you talk about her first journey coming to Earth and how she did that?
Yes. Okay, so this is, of course, many people sometimes say, well, it's a matter of belief, if you believe this story or if you don't believe this story. In my case, I can say that it's not something, if you have a feeling for this, it really touches your soul. And when the soul is touched, it's not a matter of believing anymore, it's a matter of knowing. You just know that some information is true. And this is what I felt when I read Omnec's book for the first time in 1997, it was approximately. And in this book, in her autobiography, From Venus I Came, she describes in detail the surroundings and the life on the astral level of Venus. Omnec explains that this planet, the Venus, and also other planets in our solar system used to be physically inhabited millions of years ago, like the Earth is today, but not anymore. These societies and cultures that used to live on some other planets in our galaxy, they now live in a parallel dimension, which is in a higher. That means they are still there. These people, these beings, these human beings are still there. They are just not in the physical anymore. So the astral dimension is a higher, a level of a higher frequency that we cannot perceive with our physical senses. And Omnec explains in her book that she was born there and that she grew up there. They have a different life span. It's between, I'm not really sure, sometimes she says 500 years. I also heard of 1,000 years that these people can live. They have a different time perception. They don't have the same time as we have in the physical on Earth. So she was born there and she lived on this astral plane with her family. It's a parallel dimension, so it's not so different compared to the physical. It's just that the laws, the natural laws are different. Everything can be materialized in an instant, for example. These people are highly evolved human beings who are able to manifest what they want and what they need with their thoughts. They can visualize and use the energy that surrounds them and create what they want. They can create their houses, their streets. They have different ways of spaceships, as also physical spaceships, of course, because they have mastered this technology, and they have this ability to travel through time, to travel through the dimensions, and to manifest whatever they want with their thoughts. And they also have the ability to to manifest physical bodies when there is a special reason for this, to lower their vibration and to go into the physical universe to continue their lifespans in the physical. And this is what Omnec was, what she did. She was asked by her masters, by the spiritual masters on Venus. They don't have, generally spoken, on Venus in this higher vibration, they don't have the separations like we still have on Earth. We still have a lower consciousness on Earth. So we still have all these separations, all these countries, these religions, these languages, political divisions, and all these kind of things. Of course, we have lots of judgment, criticism. We still have lots of negativity on the Earth. That they don't have this anymore on Venus. So they have a unified, unity. They have one spirituality. This is called the laws of the supreme deity. They are all, these people are all aware of this higher knowledge and wisdom, and they are all connected with the source of creation, with the creator. So they are, but of course there are still differences in the levels of consciousness in the whole universe, also on Venus, and they have masters. And these masters asked Omnec if she would be interested in experiencing an adventure, so to say. She was still a child, even in the astral body on Venus. She was still a little girl, and she was asked, and she was explained that she still has physical karma anyway. So she was told that she would have to return to the physical dimension one day anyway later, but that she now has the chance to not go through the birth process anymore, but to retain all her knowledge, all her wisdom that she has now in the astral plane, to manifest the physical body and to go to the physical earth to fulfill a mission and to complete her karma, so that she doesn't have to return to the physical at all anymore after this life is finished. And that's what she did.
That's amazing. And she came to Earth in her ship, and yes. She landed in Tibet, right?
Exactly. She manifested the physical body then. Eventually, she was prepared to this journey to Earth. She was accompanied by her uncle Odin. Her uncle Odin also manifested the physical body, and he still resides in the physical dimension. According to Omnec, he is a scientist working and living on a spaceship, and he accompanied her. He flew with her after they manifested the bodies. They flew with a little spaceship to a big mothership, into the atmosphere of the Earth, and from there again with a little scout ship, with a little UFO, how we call it, in a monastery. They flew to a monastery in Tibet, because this monastery is there for space travelers who have for some reason a reason to live on the physical for a while, or even for their whole life, like in Omnec's case, which is very unusual. Usually they only stay for a little while. And he accompanied her, and she landed in this monastery where she stayed for a year approximately to get used to her physical body now and to be prepared for her life on Earth.
And how was her first experiences here on Earth? Was it easy for her to adapt to our dimension?
Pardon again, the last part.
Was it easy for her to adapt to our dimension?
No, she says that it was very difficult in the beginning to get used to the heavy physical body. You know, when we try to visualize how it is not to have a physical body, to be pure energy, to just have an astral body, you can go from here to there in an instant, and everything is so light. And now with and unlimited, almost unlimited, right? And with a physical body, the whole vision, for example, now is limited to these little eyes, only these little holes where you look through. But when you are in the astral plane, you have a complete round view. You can perceive everything around you, from in every direction, 360 degrees round view. And of course, you don't have to eat, you don't have to sleep, you don't have to go to the toilet, all these physical things, you don't have to comb your hair. Physical body, to have a physical body is a lot of work. And she says that she felt like in a suit of armor, that it was really hard for her in the beginning to get used to everything, to all that she had to do, and to remain balanced also, of course, because she said that she had bruises all the time, that she fell, and that she was really clumsy. Yeah. So it took her a while.
Yeah. And why she chose to land in Tibet? And is there something different about this monastery in Tibet?
Different? What?
Or special? Something special?
Yes, because of course, because of the atmosphere. It is a very clear and pure atmosphere there compared to especially cities or she says that people from outer space use this as a transfer place, that they have been using this monastery or these Tibetan places to begin their physical journey. Of course, it's hidden, nobody knows where it is. It is very clear, the atmosphere is clear and probably as positive or as balanced as it can be on Earth, unlike to cities and other places where all the human beings are with their unbalanced emotions. This is the hard part for these fine, sensitive beings coming from a different dimension. Of course, the unbalanced people on Earth are a challenge to deal with. They have to get used to this and to deal with all this negativity that surrounds them. And this is, of course, not so heavy or almost not there in this monastery in Tibet. There's positive energy.
Yeah, and she got in public maybe later in her life here on Earth.
Much later, yes, much later. That's true. She said, of course, she had her karma, as I said, and she came at the age of 7. So it was not her destiny to go directly into the public and to tell her story. It was her mission in the beginning to fulfill her life cycle. Like she had to replace this little girl. This was the whole point behind it. She replaced another girl in America.
Sheila.
Sheila Gibson, and that died in a bus accident. This was a pre-arranged exchange. So this girl died, and Omnec took her place. Nobody noticed or witnessed this. This is something we just have to accept as Omnec tells us this. So she somehow she was snuggled in, and then she started to live her life on Earth as Sheila Gibson. And her public time came much later. She also had children. She has 4 adult children now, and so her private life and her being a mother and having her relationships and all that was her task, was the part that she had to live in the first 30 years approximately. And then there was a special meeting that took place, and this initiated her public work when she was inspired to write down her autobiography, From Venus I Came, that was in the 60s then, 20 years later. Yes.
Yeah, beautiful. And I want to talk more about Sheila, because maybe we may understand that Omnec is walking, but she is not. So
no.
Can you talk a little bit about the relationship between Sheila and Omnec and
yes.
how this,
Yeah. Okay. No, this is really good that you mention it, because people very, very often misunderstand this, and they think that Omnec is a walk-in. This is something else. A walk-in is a soul exchange. In this case, it was a physical exchange, as I already said. So this girl, Sheila, died in a bus accident physically, and Omnec replaced her with her own physical body. The relationship between these two girls is, according Omnec, of course, karmic. Omnec explains it like this: that they were twin sisters during the French Revolution, and that Sheila at that time gave her life to protect Omnec, so that Omnec, she was politically busy at that time, and Sheila pretended that she was Omnec and was beheaded in Omnec's place. So Omnec owed her something, and this was the reason why in this lifetime she was given the opportunity to pay this debt back. Because Sheila Gibson had a very hard life, and she, from her soul, from her emotional characteristic, was not really able to deal with this hard life, with this hard physical circumstances that she was born in and that she had to endure, including rape, including alcoholism from the parents and all that, moving all the time. Sheila she would probably not have been able to survive this life anyway. But Omnec had a different strength. She's a very strong soul. Plus, she came with her full consciousness. So she had the complete awareness of where she comes from. So she had the strength to deal with this hard life. And she agreed to take over Sheila Gibson's life and live it in her place. Therefore, the karmic relationship is balanced.
Yeah, beautiful. And was it a little challenging, the experiences that Omnec has with Sheila's family in the beginning?
Omnec says that it was not. They didn't notice that she was a different girl, because they had twin genetics. They had. Omnec says that she, as a soul, accompanied Sheila during her own birth process to receive the same genetic imprint. So not only during the French Revolution time, but also in this lifetime, they are like twins. They look like twins. And of course, Omnec was perfectly prepared. She absolutely 100% knew where she would go, and she knew everything about the family, about the grandmother, and so on. So this is all explained in the second part of Omnec's biography, Angels Don't Cry, where she explains in detail how she came into the family, that she was raised basically in the beginning by her grandmother, where she was sent from her mother to be protected from this unbalanced life situation. She was sent to live in her grandmother's house. And this was in the 50s, and she was confronted with racism, with religious fanatism. She had to really live with all these hardships in the beginning in America. Of course, there were no spirituality at all whatsoever. She was not able to speak about spirituality and where she is and where she came from. She knew that she had to keep this hidden until the right time was coming.
Yeah, beautiful. And after her lifetime here on Earth, so will she return back to Venus?
No.
Okay.
She says that she is, because of this whole adventure that she accepted to go to the physical Earth and to fulfill her mission as a spiritual teacher, to help raise people's consciousness. She's fulfilling a mission. And of course, she is a highly evolved spiritual being now, although her physical body is not very healthy anymore, but this is only the physical. She is, from her soul level, she has advanced, and so she will not return to the physical or to the astral plane anymore. She will go to a higher level.
Yeah. And before, in the beginning, you just mentioned the shift that Venus and other planets had, and I heard that it was during the last great cycle, so Venus and also other planets, they could ascend, but Earth didn't ascend. So could you just talk a little bit about the ascension experience that was in Venus?
Yes, I try. According to Omnec, the Earth is a younger planet. According to Omnec, she says that the Earth is the youngest planet in our solar system. So, of course, all planets go through evolutionary cycles. And the older planets, she speaks mostly about Venus, Mars, Saturn, and Jupiter, went through their ascension cycles millions of years ago. And the Earth is now in this process. It's a process. It's not an instant. Ascension. Nobody would be able to survive an instant ascension to a higher level of density, because our consciousness and our cells and our structures have to catch up, and otherwise we have to have this experience gradually, the planet as well as all the living beings on it. And I think that is why many people are so touched by Omnec's book, because she explains how they made it, how these people raised their consciousness, and that they were eventually able to raise their vibration so that they could live in a higher frequency. It is a spiritual evolvement that is behind this. And these Venusian people who went through this ascension process, they were living already in harmony with themselves, with love, with nature, with the supreme deity, how they call the creator, and so on. So this is basically the background for the ascension process. And then a blessing. She says that they were given a blessing because their physical planets were not able to support physical life anymore because of their own evolutionary process. But these highly evolved human beings were not afraid of dying because they knew that there is no death in reality. This is one of Omnec's main teachings, that we are all souls and there is nothing to fear, nothing at all. But that we are all only having experiences, and that everything, that nothing can disappear, that it's all only energy, and that we are all individual souls making experiences in different dimensions. And when the experience and the purpose is fulfilled, we leave this situation again, we leave this body and go in a higher dimension again before we return and make the next choice. So this is, you can see this all very, very relaxed, and this is what these people did. And then they were, according to Omnec, given this blessing because of their selflessness and so on, because they were loving, selfless people, and then they were able to retain their cultures and societies in a higher frequency, like in the astral.
Yeah, absolutely. It was really beautiful.
Yeah.
And are there other Venusian here on Earth who are also contributing to the ascension process that we are going through?
Well, there are many, many beings and people contributing to the ascension process, of course. This credit does not go only to the Venusians. Omnec says that there were many, many people and societies, civilizations that contributed with life, plants, animals, human beings to the Earth inhabitation. So the Earth is a multi civilizational or cultural planets, actually. It's not that there is one race responsible for everything and that there is one race now responsible for the ascension process. Of course, the Venusians are our sister. The Venus is our sister planet. It's very close to Earth. We have a very close connected history. And the Venusians are, according to Omnec, the caretakers of the pure spirituality that she teaches. It's a very pure teaching. So they are, of course, here and very supportive to help the Earth with the ascension process. It's many beings. And there are certainly also many other human beings on Earth have lived on Venus. This is why we feel so connected, why we feel so touched when we read Omnec's book or listen to her voice and so on, because she really represents these teachings. And I think probably all of us who feel somehow this familiarity with her and with what she says probably have lived previously already on Venus. But we don't know if there is another person on Earth that came with her own or his own physical body as a child to live here among us from Venus. According to what we know, Omnec is the only one.
Okay. And so you said that Omnec, she came here to Earth on a mission, and so could you talk a little bit about that and the reasons for being here on Earth?
Yeah, sure. I mean, one reason I think I already explained thoroughly, which is the karmic thing, but this was her personal reason, right? The mission is to share the spiritual information, to share the Venusian spirituality, to make people aware that our history of the planet Earth is much bigger than we were told, that she also shares in her lecture the spiritual transformation of the Earth and the unknown history of the Earth and the spiritual transformation. She shares the complete history of our planet and about the inhabitation from Venusian perspective. Of course, there are also other points of view, other perspectives. I think it is not necessary to try to figure out what's wrong and what's right. The most important thing is to realize that there is much more than we know and much more than we were told. And she also shares the information that that people on Earth went through a genetic manipulation long time ago, and that this genetic manipulation was the beginning of the descending of human consciousness. When the genetic she speaks about the genetic manipulation that was done to people on Earth from invaders that were not so spiritually evolved, but who were also able to have space travel and everything. But this does not necessarily mean that they are also living in harmony with the Creator. This does not have to be. There are also, of course, beings with negative intentions, and negative intentions is simply manipulate, control, use others, make use of others and of other beings. And this is what, according to Omnec, happened. So, and therefore the whole, the high consciousness that the people originally had who inhabited the Earth and who formed colonies like Atlantis and Lemuria and so on, these people, these human beings lost their abilities. They lost their ability to communicate telepathically, to communicate with the higher realms, with other beings. They forgot who they were. And then these religions and political systems and separations were established. They were established kind of artificially to rule the people on Earth with fear. and to control and manipulate them. And this is what the whole transformation process is about now, that this knowledge shall be returned, that our original knowledge, what we are, what we truly are, our true self, that we are true in reality, that we are souls making experiences, that we are eternal, immortal beings, and all this. All this is Omnec's mission, to share this information, to return knowledge to us.
Yeah, absolutely. And she also teaches about manifestation, and she said that the key element of manifestation is imagination.
Yes.
So can you talk about that?
Yes. I mean, of course, in the physical, everything goes slower, as we all know. This is, as I already tried to explain a little bit, is Omnec says that on the astral, the beings have mastered this. They have control over their emotions, over their thoughts, and over energy. So they are able to visualize something, to imagine, for example, a chair. She says that they even learn this in their schools, that this is a very important factor. I wish we had this kind of teachings in our schools. I was always searching. This is what I was saying in the beginning, that I was searching for really important and interesting subjects in school, but we didn't have this in our societies. She explains it so cute that they have creativity, temples for creativity, for learning, temples of learning, temples of mathematics, whatever. All these temples where they love experiencing and enjoying themselves and learning. And one thing they learn on Venus, on the astral, is how to manifest things, how to control your thoughts, how to manifest a chair or a plant even, or whatever. This is the secret of life. To master energy and to create. And in the physical, it's basically the same. It's just that it takes more time, because we have this, we still, because the frequency is lower and denser and more dense, we don't have the ability yet to manifest something in an instant. But basically, the system behind it, the idea behind it is the same. Everything that exists somewhere, we can think of any physical thing. We don't have to go so far now to think of plants and animals, because this is something that's really up to God or to higher beings. But when we think of a house, for example, it was once somebody's imagination. Somebody wanted this house, then it was created on a piece of paper, and there came architects, and eventually it was constructed and manifested. It's with everything the same. It's a universal thing, that everything that exists was before the thought and the imagination of somebody. So imagination is the key to creation.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. And so also Omnec has many difficult experiences here on Earth, and she could overcome them with compassion and unconditional love. So her teaching, what she is teaching to people, it comes from a real experience. So from her knowledge as Venusian, and also her experiences here on Earth.
Yeah.
So could you talk a little bit about that and her perspective about unconditional love?
Oh yes, it's a very, very good question, and it's so important. Omnec explains she really lives this unconditional love, and I know that people feel this. I felt it already when I saw her for the first time in the TV in 1994 or so, and I felt it when I was reading her book almost 20 years ago. And when I'm with her, I experience it all the time. She's really unable to be negative. She can be angry if she really has a reason. This is something else. But she cannot be. She doesn't have the ability anymore to hate or to feel separated from another being. She said that she was ridiculously compassionate when she was younger, that she even had compassion for a piece of paper that was flying around, and because she felt sorry that nobody seemed to want this paper anymore. And she also has this ability to that animals and that especially children feel very, very much drawn to her like a magnet. Not always, of course, but it happens. It happens that people and beings feel, or what also happens very, very often, happens still very often, is that people who have some kind of handicap, like handicapped people, mentally retarded people or so, people who are like children a little bit, that they feel magnetically drawn to Omnec because she has this open heart. She has always compassion and unconditional love for everything and for everybody. And she says that this is the way to evolve as a human being, to see everything from God's perspective. When you see, because she teaches that everything that exists, everything was created out of love. She says that God, as the creator, as the source of everything that exists, created everything that exists out of love for itself, so that it would continue forever to live in non-ending cycles. So love is the whole basis of creation. And the more one is able to love consciously and to really see things and the whole creation from God's perspective, the more you raise your vibration and the more you identify again with your true self as soul. And this is, of course, the spark that is created purely from God. We are all a part of God, and God is pure love, so we are all love. The only thing that makes it often seems the illusion of separation is because of our genetic manipulation and because of this that we are often identified with what's not real, with what we see and what is temporary. But this is not reality. Reality is pure love and eternity. And this knowledge, to recall this and to not only know it, but to feel it and to apply it to one's life, is it what causes the ascension of the consciousness and the raising of vibration and the healing of yourself and of all that surrounds us.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. I love that. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So could you talk about what's Omnec's perspective of the future of planet Earth? So what can we expect during this great shift that we are going through?
Yes, of course, she, from her perspective, sees everything positively, and that everything that happens now, all the difficulties that we still have on Earth, are still just signs that the transition process is in the process. But according to Omnec, it is sure and safe that we will make it, that the Earth is not going to be destroyed, that we will not go into wars or into any kind of destruction, but that we all just have to go through this transition process and difficulties. That's part of the whole process. But after the transformation, after all this is complete, the Earth is going to be a totally different place, she says. And eventually, probably like on Venus, eventually, where we are also living in harmony with nature, with each other, where we have one spirituality among us and between us. She says that we will also have the ability as souls to make many, many experiences in one lifetime, to enter, for example, the body of a dolphin and to be a dolphin, to enter a body of a butterfly, to be in a human body, to experience many, many things in one lifetime. And that we, of course, that the planet eventually will serve a different purpose. The purpose of the planet in the last thousands of years was to be the playground for negativity, so that souls could experience the polarity in a very extreme way. This is why we had all these wars, all these crimes, all these destructions, all these separations. This is going to come to an end. Those people who cannot evolve spiritually are going to, according to Omnec, to have a different planet where they can continue with their games of negativity. But the Earth is going to serve a different purpose in the future. And this is to be a symbol of varieties of life forms that are able to live in harmony with God and with each other on this one planet, to be one humanity.
Mm. Yeah, beautiful. This is very exciting. And is this coming in the near future, or still we need some time to? Well,
it depends on the people themselves. This is why she shares her information. This is why I help her to share the information, and why there are thousands and thousands of others who are light workers and who help sharing this information. Because it's eventually all up to us. We, as human beings, everybody for themselves individually, have to change their consciousness. They have to apply this awareness on their own life, and one day it will definitely be strong enough, this spirituality, this consciousness, so that we are strong enough. Like she explained, for example, what they did on Venus, that these people who did not want to cooperate with the negative system anymore, with the manipulating and control anymore. For example, they decided to build groups to live in the country, to burn even their money, to not live in the system anymore. And of course, you have to be very courageous, and you have to be really spiritually very, very strong, and already be able to live already in contact with your true self, with your soul, with the higher beings again, to feel guided, to be guided, to not live in fear anymore. And then the consciousness changes everything, and then the life will be different. So the basic key is to replace judgment and criticism with love and acceptance.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, as you said, it started with changing ourselves, and then the outer world will certainly change.
Exactly. We are the source. We are the creators of our world, and we have to really be aware that this is our strength, and that we are responsible, that we have the power to change our thoughts, and to really be aware, to notice, for example, when we are falling into fearful thoughts, and when we are speaking negatively about whatever. The first step is to notice it. The first step is to realize, oh, I'm saying, feeling, speaking something that lowers my own vibration, that makes me unhappy. We have to find the key to our own thoughts and feelings to change them. This is the first step, and to raise, to just switch them around, to question our beliefs, to question what we are currently thinking, and then it really, everything starts with the individual, and then it radiates to the others, to the outer world.
Yes, absolutely. I totally agree with you. And so there is an upcoming book. I think it will be published soon. So can you talk about it?
I published it yesterday. It's really very exciting, because I'm totally new on this sector. I already created many books, I also worked on Omnec's book, the Venusian trilogy, and I did the layout and all this. But now this is the very first book that I published myself, and it's it's called Simply Wisdom and Love, Venusian Spirituality. And it contains, I have been working on this book for years, because it was in 2011 when Omnec's book, the Venusian trilogy, was published again in Germany. And at that time, Omnec and I were traveling here in the German-speaking countries, and she gave book presentations. Or we gave the book presentation, because she had a stroke 2 years before, so she is not able to speak by herself for hours anymore, like she used to do. You know, she needs something that is more energy saving for herself. So we decided that we do this together, that I read parts of her book and so on. But the main part of these book presentations were questions and answer sessions. And what I did was that I recorded all these questions and answer sessions. I think I had 14 recordings or so, and it took me more than 1 year or even longer to just transcribe all this and to separate the German stuff from the English and everything. And this was really a big project. This is one big part of this book, Omnecs. So this is really a live atmosphere in the book, because it's purely transcribed sessions from public presentations, right? And it also includes the full transcript of her lecture, The Unknown History of the Solar System and the Spiritual Transformation of the Earth. This is only available as a DVD. That's very good as well. But I did a transcript of this, and for those who like reading it, it's one part of the book. And the book also contains some unpublished texts from Omnec that were never published in other books before. Like, for example, the true story of Christ. Omnec says that she was a disciple of Christ, that she was Peter, and that one of her mission, one of the reasons for being here is to help Jesus to eventually be free from this burden that he was given from the manipulators. She tries by giving this information to help Jesus, to help the people who believe in Jesus to get a different perspective, and to not continue doing everything in his name anymore and all these kind of things. It's not a very long text. It's maybe 4 or 5 pages. But for some people, it's a very important information about Jesus Christ. And the last part of the book contains projects. And the most important project is Omnec Oasis. This is the project for the future, for the transformation of the earth. And this book is, yesterday I spoke with Omnec on the phone. I had sent a proof to her from Create Space, because I'm trying to publish it on different platforms so that it is as worldwidely available as possible. And this is the exciting part, because technically I can do books, but I'm not so experienced yet with publishing them and with marketing, you know. So yesterday it was the beginning. I published it on Create Space, and there it can already be ordered now. Amazon Create Space. Okay,
it's already available to order.
Yeah, well, on Amazon directly it should be available maybe tomorrow or so. It was said the first store is now the Create Space store, Amazon Create Space store, but it should be available maybe within 2, 3, 4 days or so, also on Amazon, and other stores will follow. I'm just creating the ebook.
Okay, beautiful. And so you just mentioned the Omnec Oasis project. So you are managing these projects. Can you talk about it and your involvement in it?
Yes, I love this. It's my favorite. This is my life project, or our life project. It is, well, I don't know how much time do we still have. I don't want to go too deep into the history of the Oasis.
We still have time. We still have enough time. You can.
Yeah.
Can take questions.
Okay. Well, the beginning was again in the 90s, separately from each other. Omnec had the idea of a place, of a house, of a center where she can share spiritual universal teaching. She was inspired during a conversation with a friend in wherever, I think in Chicago. She was on top on a building and they were talking about a different school, some school. I think they were talking about Unarius school. That's something like also a spiritual school. And then she had the feeling of, wow, this is something that we need. This is something that I would love to have as well. This was the beginning. And during this time, I don't know, maybe at the same time or 1 or 2 years later, I was in a situation where I felt free enough to allow myself to think without limits and to dream without limits. I had a bookstore where I met Omnec, actually. This was our beginning in 1997. And but this bookstore was not meant to be my store and my life for the rest of my life. This was probably only a step. This was only a step. And when it came to an end, I grabbed a book, and this book inspired me to write down the highest vision that I was able to have at that time. And this was the pre-Oasis. It was a house where people can share ideas, where teachings can be shared, where people live together in harmony, where nature and gardens are beautifully arranged, and where lectures and creativity and music and everything and workshops, where everything can be shared based upon pure spirituality, like from Omnec's teachings, inspired. And I made copies of this. I wrote it down. It was 4 pages, and I made copies. And I sent it to all people that I knew at that time. I think it was about 100 or 200. And one of them was Omnec. And I sent it to her in the States. And a German friend was there at that time, and he translated it to her. And then she called me and was very excited. And she said, "Well, that's my Oasis." And that was it. This is when the name Oasis appeared for the first time, and we were really excited that we had the same vision, or that our vision was finding together at this point. And yes, and then from that time on, we started sharing these ideas in public. She spoke about it in public. We also tried to establish it, but it was a failure, the first attempt, because people were just not mature enough, spiritually mature enough to live. And you know, it was still too difficult. And then the Oasis project was kind of sleeping again for a couple of years. And I think it was in 2006 or so when it came back to me. I did a meditation with a CD, and in this meditation, all of a sudden, I had this full vision. I saw this house, I saw this landscape, I saw this interior, all the other houses that are connected with this project, the aerial, and then I felt such an urgent need to get it out of me and to write it down, to make little illustrations, to draw it and to share, to somehow get it out of myself. I cannot even say that I was willing to start raising funds or to do promotion. I had a job and I had to take care for my own life, and this was not the time, but I felt that all that I can do is go to school, learn web design, create an internet page, and get it out of me. And this is what I did. This was the first time in 2008 when these texts and little childlike illustrations, because I'm really not a very talented artist, but there was nothing else that could be done. I didn't have anybody who saw my visions except for myself, so I had to do it myself. And these texts and everything and the illustrations are still online, now under the name omnecsoasis.org. And it was when was it? I think in 2014 or 13, when Omnec was in Germany, we celebrated her 65th birthday in Germany. Mm-hmm. And I said, Omnec, we should give birth to the Oasis project on this occasion of your 65th birthday. That means, for me, the birth was to share it with the public, and to not only to share it with the public, but also to invite the public to contribute. Not with money, because money is not the first thing we need. First, we need visionaries. We need people who also are able to imagine freely and to step into this vision and to help creating it with their thoughts. And this is what we have been doing since then. We had the first Oasis meeting in 2013 with the first group of people, and then the second one year later. Now we just had the third one, the first time without Omnec, because she's of course in the States. She's not always here, but we are beginning to work on this project here in Germany. We don't know, we have no idea when and where it will be reality. It's such a big project. If one day a billionaire finds this vision and says, well, this is exactly what I want to do with my money, it could probably be manifested within a year or so when the land is there and when the funds are there. But at the moment, it's still in the visionary phase, and we still try to find each other, find the people who have the heart to and the vision to participate and to help manifest this. Yeah, this is the Oasis project. It's called A Place in Harmony with the Universe.
Yeah, it's beautiful and very exciting, and so we hope it manifests. All many people get involved in it, and yeah, it's grow even more, and we can see it in the real world. So thank you so much for the work you are doing, and also it was such a pleasure to have you with us today, and thank you for all the information. We really enjoyed it, and thank you so much for the work you are doing. For you and Omnec, you are such a blessing to the planet. So really thank you so much for all the effort and in helping people all over the world. So thank you so much, Anja.
Thank you so much also on Omnec's name to give us the opportunity to share this information. And I hope I send love and blessings to everybody who hears this, and whoever wants to get in touch with us or so, just visit the homepage, right, omnec/onec.com, and you can send an email to contact@omnec/onec.com, and I usually answer every email.
Yeah, absolutely. I will also add the link in the replay page so everybody can get to the website. So thank you so much, Anja.
Okay.
And
thank you, Moncef.
And thank you, and everyone. I want to thank each and every one of you for joining us today live, and also for those of you who will be listening on the replay. It's such a pleasure to have you again between us, and so I send you a tremendous amount of love, and see you in the next call. Bye-bye.